I added some posts to the database, and also I updated my profile photo, so that's why you see a different photo. And we are ready to work on a login and authentication. Let's just dive in. First thing first, we need to create a page here, and I'm going to call it sign in. So signin.js, and then from there we're going to use snippet. We need here just a span for now to check if it works. Sign in. Also, we don't need anything here. We also need to import head to our file, so I'm going to import head from next. And inside the render method, I'm also going to use fragment. So, and inside there we're going to use head, and within a head we can use title, sign in, and as you remember we can use the config just to bring the config, and also we've got this public.config, so we can use it inside the title. If you remember, sign in, very simple, page title. While we are here, I like to import font awesome. So it is very simple. So if you go to the font awesome, go to start, and then free, so we can just copy this one and manually paste it here. We don't need these two, and this is it. So now we have font awesome in this page. So I'm going to copy and paste the style which I've made ready, and then we can go through it together. And as you can see, we are using columns, and I'm using some Bulma classes, so nothing specific. And then we're using font awesome, so FA Google, which is a font awesome, Facebook, we're going to use Twitter, we're going to use GitHub, all of them together for the authentication. So, and then if we go to the sign-in page, now you're seeing some buttons. Let's just copy and paste some styles, and then we should be able to see a better page. So as you can see, now we have these buttons. They don't do anything specific because we're not handling any buttons at the moment, but I just put some margin, and then I add some background color for buttons specifically. In order to make this button work, so we need to handle the on-click event, and so we can start doing it from the first one, which is Google. So we can say on-click. So it will be this dot authenticate, and that's all we need. So if someone click here, we need to have this function on top. I'm going to write this one. Authenticate will be an arrow function. Just going to just do something here. Clicked. There we go. Let's have a look. In the console, someone click here. Now we have this one works. But we need to know what button has been clicked. Well, in this case, we're going to say Google, and in a few seconds, you will see why I'm using the capital letter when we start working with that one. As you know, when we're writing JavaScript, we're using JavaScript function inside, for example, here on click, it will run it. In order to stop our code to run it, unless we click, we need just to put parentheses at the beginning, and then we are saying if we click there, then you need to run this one, otherwise do not touch it. So now nothing is there, and if I click it will work. And just to prove it, if I remove this bit, well, as soon as I refresh, it run the code. So we don't want to run the code, we just want to wait until we click. So that's how it works. And also we need this one, and I'm going to call this one, in this case I'm going to call it provider, because we're going to use it as a provider, and we need to say, well, in this case we're going to say just console log provider, and we're going to do the same things for example with Facebook, but here it will be Facebook. I'm going to add these things quickly everywhere. So now that we have it here, let's just check it quickly together. If I click here, it will be Google, Facebook, Twitter, GitHub. Now let's just write some code and make sure this one works. In order to do that, we need to bring auth from our DB in a lib. So let's just bring it in. I'm going to import auth from lib DB. So now that we have auth, we can use it in our authenticate method. And we can say auth dot sign in with pop-up. That's what we're going to use. But inside this pop-up, we need to just say what kind of pop-up. So is it going to be a Facebook pop-up? It's going to be a GitHub pop-up, or Google, etc. In order to do this one, we need to just create our auth provider. So in order to do that, we're going to say auth provider. It will be a new Firebase auth provider. So we also need to bring Firebase. So I'm going to bring Firebase, and then inside Firebase, no, we don't need this one, anything here. So from here, we're going to say new Firebase .auth. For example, if we have Google, we can say Google. If we have Facebook, so we can choose any of them. In this case, I'm going to use, for example, Google auth provider, and now it should bring us it should bring us a pop-up to log in with our Google. However, we didn't do anything in our Firebase authentication section. Once we do that one, we can use it. So, and then from there we can use auth provider here, and then it will show the auth provider and it will return a promise. So we can use then there will be a result, and then we can say console.log result. By the way, we should come back here and make this part dynamic, because we have the provider and all we need to change is just this bit: Google, Facebook, Twitter, GitHub, etc. So let's just do this one first. So in order to fix that, I can just backtick. So I can say we have the provider, and then we need auth provider at the end of it, nothing more. So I'm going to paste it here, and obviously we don't need this one anymore. And now we always have a dynamic provider. So let's go to the Firebase, and then in authentication we should see a sign-in method. In a sign-in method, we are going to use Google, Facebook, Twitter, GitHub, but the rest of them are easy as well. So I am going to, for example, in this case, I'm going to GitHub and I click on it, and then you see your email address, project ID here. We're going to enable it in this case, and then I press save, and we can come and test our login button. In order to test that, we've done only the Google one, so we can click here, and then there will be a pop-up, and it is going to show what application, the email, and then if I choose the email, it's going to ask for the password because I haven't logged in. So I'm going just to quickly put my password. And now we are logged in. So quickly, if you look, it returns a user object. Now that we can log in, let's just quickly work on other methods to make them work. So like Facebook, Twitter, and GitHub.